Today we're going to be prepping some vintage receipts for gel plate. I'm going to go ahead and get a base layer of paint on these so that they can be used in journals. I don't love them the way they are. I think the back is great for writing on, but the front not as much. So I'd like to get a little something on these. I have a stack of them and I'd really love to be able to use them in my journals. So I need to level them up. They've been coffee dyed. These have not, but these have. And then once we're done with that, I've got some paper bags. I want to go ahead and get a little something on those. I have some brown paper, encyclopedia papers, some sort of like scrappy papers that are a really plain putty color. I would never use these in anything the way that they are. I've got my friend Carol of Crafted by Carol sent me some of her gel plate, so I'd like to go ahead and put a little something on the opposite side. I've got a map. I'm going to toy with that just a little bit. And let's see. Oh yeah. Somebody sent me this digital kit. Well, they gave it to me. They printed it out. They couldn't use it. They gave it to me. So we're going to spice that up a little bit as well. Another vintage receipt from 1989. I'm going to put that in the front. Some scrapbook papers, some pink papers, and some more brown papers. I wanted to share a few things that I learned while I did all of these jelly plate prints. One was I used some glitter paint and I really liked it because it added color to the pages, but it was also translucent at the same time, so I could still see the print coming through on these vintage statements. So I thought that was pretty cool, so that's something to keep in mind. If you'd like some paint, but you want it to be a little bit translucent, the glitter paints do a really good job on that. Now, if you didn't want glitter on your paper, which is very fine, by the way, you could probably water down your paint. That could be an idea. Another thing I learned is that metallic paints also have a translucent effect, and I absolutely love the way that they look on the papers. Here's an example of one. I decided I wanted to experiment with some encyclopedia pages. These are vintage encyclopedia pages, and I wanted to see if I could create a print where the typing showed through. This one you'll notice that some does, but I was a little bit heavy on the paint. It still shows through a little bit, which is very, very cool. But I need to maybe go a little bit thinner with the regular paints next time on the encyclopedia pages. I found that the kind of paint that you use makes a huge difference. You can see that this came out much thicker. I can see some of the print, but it's definitely much thicker. And this is a typical acrylic craft paint that I was using. I decided I wanted to do a little bit of experimenting, so I picked up a paper clip and I pressed it into the paint, and then I twisted into the paint. And then I took my roller and I went over that because I wanted it to sort of be a subtle pattern. And when we pull the paper up, we can see that it did leave some marks. On this next one, I'm not adding any additional paint. I'm just using whatever was on the jelly plate, and I'm going to use that on this encyclopedia page, and it's light, but I really like it. I can see a lot of the print come through on that. I'm getting a little grungier on this one. I have a vintage bank statement I'm going to use. It's already been coffee dyed, so I want to go ahead and press this in here and see what happens. It came out very dark and rich, so I'll definitely be using this for either a grungy journal or a Halloween journal. I grabbed another coffee dyed statement and pressed it, and I love the way that this one turned out. You can still see the print come through, which I really, really like. You can see here I'm just using that leftover paint, adding a little bit with some of the, it's a gold It's the rose gold. I added rose gold and brown, and because that rose gold is a metallic, you can see that it creates a translucent effect. We can see all that typing coming through. Since I like that translucent effect so much, I'm adding a little bit of brown, a little bit of a cream color, and more of that metallic, trying to make it pretty thin so that we can still see the front of this statement. And look, we can, and even the flower shows through. One of the pieces we already did, it's dry, so I'm going to do the other side now. So I've added brown and the rose gold. As you can see, the paint's super thin on this one, so it turns out really subtle, but I like that. So we've got really dark and rich on one side, and then subtle, and I can see the print on the other side. So I like the way this page turned out. On this next one, I'm just going for a little bit of rose gold with a tiny bit of brown, and again, super thin. We're going to put the encyclopedia page on that and see if we like how that turns out. And I do. And since I like that, I'm going to go ahead and do that again on another one of these encyclopedia pages. As you can see, I'm enjoying working with the metallic because it is translucent, so I thought I'd be a little bit more daring on this one and use some black metallic mixed with the gold, and let's see if that will still show the print through it. And it does. So these are going to be a lot of fun for Halloween journals or fall journals. I have some bronze metallic, so I want to give that a shot because I think that'll be really, really pretty. Mixing that with the rose gold as well. And I really, really like the results on this one. I'm going to be a little bit daring on this next one. I'm going to use some of this light colored teal, but then I'm going to mix that with some black. The teal is very thin, so it'll help thin out the black a little bit. I tend to be pretty cautious when I'm working with black just because it's so very dark, but let's have a look and see what we have. Yeah, I think this turned out pretty cool. Since I like that, I want to try that again on another statement, and I'm not sure what I would use the black and the blue for, but I might be able to incorporate that into a grungy journal. Now I'm going to experiment with a map. So I've grabbed my glitter blue because I know that's thin. I put a little black on there and a little teal, and check that out. I think that looks very, very cool. We're going to go with a similar effect on the other side, but less black. I think this looks really, really neat, so I'll definitely be doing more of those. Coming up is another one, and I'm using more of the glitter paint because I really, really like the way that it makes it translucent. I think how it turns out is really, really cool. My friend Carol of Crafted by Carol had sent me some of her gel plate prints, and I want to go ahead and add some of my own on the other side. So I grabbed blue and yellow and teal, and this is what we came up with, and I think that looks great. I have a paper bag, and I got that from World Market, as you could see that on there, and I thought I would just experiment with this. Definitely going with some dark colors. I've got some brown, and I got some bronze, and I'm going to end up doing several layers on this paper bag. As you can see, it's a pretty long bag, so a lot of these are going to end up overlapping anyway. I'm using combinations of black and brown and bronze, probably like a metallic charcoal. I'm sure I put that in there at some point in time. And the bag ends up looking really leathery, and I really like the way that it turned out. My friend Darcy of Darcy's Misadventures with Mixed Media sent me this beautiful mustard gold rich paper, and it's actually from Italy, she told me. And so I thought I want to go ahead and see what I can make happen with this. Because it's already starting with such a rich color anyway, this will definitely be used in a fall-themed journal, I'm thinking. The texture of the paper is pretty cool, and it absorbed that paint so quickly I was able to do the opposite side right away. Now I'm going to experiment by using a lighter color yellow on this gold and see what happens. It turns out pretty, but a little bit plain, so I have other plans for the other side. I'm going to use the yellow paint again, but then I'm going to take a dab of brown. I'm going to swirl it around with my finger, and then I'm going to run the brayer through it and just see if we can get some sort of pattern on this next press. We do get a pattern, and I like it, so now I'm going to be a little bit more daring, and I'm going to go in with some orange on the next one. So I've put some orange down, now I'm going to put some yellow down, and I'm just going to run my fingers through it, go over that with the brayer, press the paper, and let's see what kind of results we get. So I think this looks really, really cool. Since I liked that result so much, I'm going to try that again. I've got the orange, then I'm going to add a little bit of a cream color and just swirl that around. And then I'm going to run my brayer through that, and we're going to press the paper into that. I think it turns out really neat, and to me it sort of looks like fire. This is all about the experimentation and sort of learning what I can do with the gel plate. So on this one I'm going to put some blue down, but then I'm going to put some orange over top of that, and I'm not going to roll it and blend it. I'm going to just leave these marks. And because it's got orange, and I don't use orange very frequently, and the blue makes it sort of dark, so I think this is something I would use at Halloween time as well. Now I'm mixing some green, some yellow, and some cream color, and we're putting it on this very deep, rich paper, and we're going to see how that turns out. I like this, and it reminds me of fall. Now I want to experiment with some scrapbook paper. We all have scrapbook paper laying around the house, and a lot of it is one-sided. So I figured I'd go ahead and print on the opposite side and see what we come up with. Now I want to go ahead and print on the printed side and see what kind of results we get with that. Well, I absolutely love that. I think it's super, super cool. Now I want to experiment with some almost neon yellow paper. This is not a color I would frequently use in my crafting, so if I add some gel plate to it, it might make it so that I'll use it. And you could see it's like so orange, that first one that I did, which is going to be perfect for fall. This side came out pretty neat too, but I think I actually like the other side better. A friend had printed out a digital kit. I can't tell you who the artist was, I have no idea, it was given to me. But I would like to add some gel print to these papers and just see what kind of effect we get. This one I used one of the metallics, so it was very translucent, and I think it was okay. I didn't love that pull, but that's why we're experimenting, just to see what happens with different paints and different papers. Here's another one of them, and this I actually really like. Having that gold metallic over top of those flowers I think looked really pretty. This one I'm doing something similar, but I've added a little bit of black to it just to, I guess, deepen the color, and I think that looks pretty cool as well. Still using that printable that was given to me, but now I'm going to go in with some cream colored paint and just a dash of metallic blue, and we're going to see how this looks on top of this print, and I'm pretty happy with that as well. I wanted to mention to you guys that these papers that I worked on today, I ended up using during a live that I did with Darcy of Darcy's Misadventures with Mixed Media. We went on live, and I ended up using these papers and adding to them. So if you'd like to see how they turned out with one more layer of gel print on them, and actually I was using some stencils that she gave me, which are absolutely beautiful. And I love the way that everything turned out. So I'm going to link that video in my description box in case you want to check it out. Thanks for watching. See you soon.